Hello, a very good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be watching us in the Gambia and diaspora. We're deeply honored and glad to be back on this program, ThinkPod Podcast. And with me today is Melvin Robertson Robert and Dr. Malmo Sambu. And Lamin J. Dabo will be joining us in this conversation tonight. We try by all means to have Barrister Lamin J. Dabo with us here, live on screen, but the network did not allow us to have him here. But with all that, we're going to have him on call and he will walk us through the conversation. As you all know, Lamin Jedabo is a descendant of one of the most controversial cases, which was just recently completed in the Gambia. And we will be discussing more on that. And Melvin also has shared a lot of reservation with regards to the Supreme Court ruling with the matters of Auditor General. But without much ado, or before we go further, I will just let Melvin to greet our viewers, and from there we can start the program. Melvin, good to have you back.
Yeah, hi. Good evening. It's good to be here yet again. Um, my name is Melvin Roberts, like you rightly said. A lawyer by profession. I live in the UK. So yeah, definitely looking forward to a very exciting engagement yet again. It's always a learning and teachable moment when we're on your platform. So looking forward to it, and of course having the renowned and phenomenal lawyer Lamin J. Dabo, and now politician. It's a privilege to be here. So yeah,
Thank you so much, Mel. I'm deeply honored to have you here again, and I'm deeply excited for you honoring our invitation anytime that we reach out to you. Now that we're gonna move to Council Lamin Jedabo, a renowned lawyer, like you mentioned earlier, a politician, and of course, the man of the moment, like most of the junior lawyers will say. Uncle Lamin, good to have you again on ThinkPad Podcast. You can say hi to our viewers and listeners.
Uh, thank, thank you very much, Aliu, Dr. Malmo, and Melvin. Uh, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know you do not need any further introductions. You are here before, and then of course, as somebody who is at the center of issues in the Gambia, it's somebody who is known by many. So we will just get into the program. But before that, I will let Doctor to say hi to viewers. Then we can start the program proper. Doc, good to have you back. I don't think Malmo can hear us. Malmo, can you hear us?
no, he can't.
Yeah, Doc, you are mute. Doctor Malmo cannot hear us. So um, maybe his device is not really working. Yes, Uncle Lamin, you can go ahead. So we're gonna start the program with the issues of the Auditor General. This is a matter that is a descendant of the current issues in the Gambia. The current development that has sparked public debate with regards to the independence and the power of the judiciary in the Gambia. I want you to walk us through the issues of the Auditor General matter. We've discussed briefly about this when the matter was going on, and now that the ruling has been made. How was the atmosphere in the courthouse last week, and what went on?
Well, it was quite something, really. The courthouse was full to capacity,
Mhm.
as expected, of course. A lot of people in the country are interested in the matter. So, yes, a lot of people were there, media houses, and all of that. So, yeah, it was quite an exciting day in court.
Yes, we have learned that Auditor General ran to your office 9 months ago to seek refuge. This is how I always put it. Sometimes it sounds funny to Dr. Malmo, but that's how I always put it. And when he get to you, you do not hesitate. You went on to put forward the challenging the government decision, to be more precise, the president, with regards to the issues of removing, forceful removal of Auditor General. When Auditor General to your office, do you really believe at that point in time that you have a case in this matter, and then where you really believe that this is going to be the outcome of this whole case?
Well, you cannot predict the outcome 100%. But as to whether he had a case, yes, I was convinced about that. Because if you look at the National Audit Act 2015, as well as the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, at several sections, but particularly 158, 159, and section 160, then you know he has a case. He has a case, and that position has been vindicated by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, just ask a question. What was the issue for the people that did not know what was going on between the Auditor General and the President? What we have shown on the TV was that, you know.
The Auditor General, then Auditor General, Maurice Sese, was called to the President's office, and offered the position of Minister of Trade. He did not accept. He never accepted. So even though the Supreme Court said that it believed he verbally accepted, I don't know why that was part of the judgment, but he never accepted. Because the letter that was issued to him said that if you're going to accept, you accept in writing. So he never did. So how could you say he accepted the offer verbally and then went and changed his mind? So yes, he was offered the Ministry of Trade, but he said his skill sets were more attuned to the job that he's doing as the National Auditor of the Gambia, or if you like, the Auditor General of the Gambia. So he refused. He declined the appointment. But then the president was trying to persuade him, and he said no. So he was there. 4 or 5 days later, the police were deployed to his offices at the National Audit Office, Carnifing, and he was forcefully removed in the glare of global publicity. Yeah, because the journalists were there, so the whole thing was spread live.
Yeah. So before I move to Dr. Lamin Jedabo, I just want you to walk us through about the ruling. What has been said there. Perhaps a lot of individuals might not have chance to go through all the ruling, but you can summarize to us. We've realized that some other commentators were not happy, with some part of the ruling. They were happy that the court denounced that the action of the president was unlawful, unconstitutional, but a lot of people were also expecting that the court will make an order that this individual should be reinstated back to his office, but we haven't seen that. Walk us through the court ruling in summary.
Well, essentially, the ruling was that he was unlawfully removed. He was also forcefully removed. And so at the end of the day, when the facts were read, then they went to the application of the law and married the law to the facts and came up with the conclusion that his removal was unconstitutional. It was unlawful as well, and that he was forcefully removed. This is something we all witnessed at the same time. On the 12? Yeah, it was around the 15th of September 2025 that the police appeared in his offices at the National Audit Office, and he was forcefully removed. Now, the surprising thing about the whole thing is, if you honor somebody and say, okay, I'm happy with your work, so I'm going to promote you and all of that, and he said, no, I'm happy where I am. Please leave me where I am. And you said no. And then you went and forcefully removed the person from office. Obviously, that meant that the stage for confrontation was set from the onset. So the government was trying, there was no room for pretension. Two things, either he accepts or we remove him forcefully. So they went and removed him forcefully. The Supreme Court said that was wrong, it was unconstitutional. But like you hinted, a lot of commentators, including, of course, Melvin, was that, he should have been reinstated. And I believe that was what the Auditor General himself was expecting. He said he would take it fate, but I interpret that to mean, well, I expected to go back to my job, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Yeah. So if you have specific questions, and we can have a more specific interview. But in short, that was it. The president's conduct in terms of appointment. The Auditor General said, no, thank you, but I want to continue as Auditor General. And then the government came and removed him, with in the full glare of publicity. So that was quite something. But that was what happened. Eventually, he was removed against his will. And yeah.
Yeah. So I will come back to Melvin. I will ask subsequent questions, Uncle Jedabo, after this. Doc, sorry, Melvin. I will start with the issues of the Auditor General as usual. You have shared your opinion with regards to this whole matter from the beginning. You were with the belief that the government acts out of unconstitutionalities, and then your stance came out again. And this is not the first time. In most cases, when you speak about when it comes to legal issues and governance in the Gambia, subsequently, we go back to your records or your archival, and we do realize that Melvin was very, very assertive with this point, and then subsequently, this is the matter at hand. The same thing happened in Hussein Bojan's matter, and you were vindicated. This time around, how did you feel when you read the Supreme Court ruling?
First and foremost, let me just say it's very difficult when I'm on the same platform with somebody as renowned as Barrister Lamin J. Dabo, who is a very phenomenal and brilliant lawyer who's actually adding to the richness of our jurisprudence in the Gambia by dint of his very hard work that he's doing. I was very happy because for me, like you said, I've written about this extensively, most especially when the Auditor General was forcefully removed and unconstitutionally removed at the time. I didn't think that I didn't think that any part of that provision was ambiguous, that it even needed the Supreme Court to interpret whether his removal was unconstitutional or not. I believe the provisions were unambiguous, they were clear, they were written in very plain and simple English for anybody to understand at the time that the way the Auditor General was removed was not according to law. So this was my position from the very start. However, obviously, where issues are contentious, then obviously the right thing to do was to approach the Supreme Court to sort of, to adjudicate on that matter and to sort of interpret, because they're vested with the powers of authority and jurisdiction to interpret the Constitution, the provisions of the Constitution. Now, I always believe that his removal was unconstitutional because the provisions were clear. And this is why I even disagree. I respect the judgment of the Supreme Court, but I think it's also my right to disagree, because even whereas the Auditor General had verbally accepted the position of Minister of Trade in the way and manner it was done, it does not exclude the fact that it was not according to the criteria laid out in the Constitution, where he can step down from office or be removed from office. A mere verbal acceptance of a ministerial position is not equal to him resigning or him leaving his post according to what is laid down in the Constitution. And the reason why this is because the Auditor General's office is seen as a very crucial and independent office. And therefore, these provisions are there to guard and guide the independence of the office. Now, it was a brilliant rule. It was a brilliant judgment. and accepting the fact that he was unconstitutionally removed, which I believe even Gambians that didn't quite understood the law at the time felt that the way he was removed, the way he was humiliated, it's not proper, it's not done, and that wasn't according to law. It was not what was prescribed by law. However, the part that it left me confused, bewildered, and of course I disagree with it, is where the Supreme Court decided to get into administrative bureaucracy. I don't think
Yeah, I think Melvin has gone. Maybe he got a call from somebody. Uncle, I mean, before Melvin will be back, I just want you to move forward a bit if you are with us here with regards to public opinion that Auditor General should be reinstated. Why do you really think that Supreme Court ruled against of that opinion at some point?
Well, the position of the Supreme Court is that the relationship has broken down completely. So there was absolutely no way that he could go back to his office. So that was a difficulty. And so that was the main reason they gave. And they went to some extent to give authorities in the Caribbean, in similar circumstances, and said that they are declining to reinstate him. So they made their orders, but they didn't bother ordering that he should be reinstated. So he was not reinstated. That was the position. But all in all, what they said about that was the possibility of the acrimonious relationship. That acrimony, obviously, was something that I wouldn't say it doesn't exist. Reasonable people can disagree or agree about that. But I believe that, given the entire circumstances, the government was wrong, the president was wrong in removing him from his office. He was wrong. It was not in accordance with the law stated by Melvin. So the judgment overruled was a good one. He was vindicated. And I like that. But I disagree that the government or the president could have gone on to then remove them with force from his office.
Yeah, I'll come back to you later. Melvin, you are back. I believe you must have had call over there.
Yes, I'm sorry. Somebody rang my phone, so it just kicked me off. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, you're good. You go ahead.
Yes. So I was just saying that I believe they dealt into that bit. It is not for the Supreme Court to regulate the relationship between the Auditor General and the President or the Executive. I don't think that was within their remit, to be honest. I feel that where they had substantively found that his removal was unconstitutional, and going by the Supreme Court's own ruling in the Yakumba Jaite case, it follows that if his removal was unconstitutional, then there was no vacancy at all. And if there was no vacancy at all, you cannot now use some sort of legalese language or legal text to give that the current holder or the current person occupying that position some sort of constitutional or legal pathway. And that is my issue. Once the court has deemed that the removal of Mamadou Cisse was unconstitutional, it would follow that there was no removal in the first place. The position, the removal, there was removal, but rather the removal was forceful. And the court has ruled to say that both the removal and the sacking of both the forceful removal and the sacking or firing of the Auditor General was both an unconstitutional act. Therefore, the Auditor General is still the substantive holder, factually and legally, of that position. So how then, and it is for that reason that I believe that amongst the reliefs that was granted to him, it was assumed that he was still at work and still a holder of that position. And that is why the judgment went on to say that he would still be paid his dues, his salary, and all benefits from the moment he was forcefully removed until the judgment and until his term expires, until his retirement. Therefore, in all honesty, because of the unconstitutional act of the state, in this regard, the president, the court has already deemed that this man is the substantive holder of that position. They're paying him his dues. The only thing they're short of doing was to reinstate him, and that is what the overwhelming majority of Gambians wanted to see. Sometimes the judgment, the theoretical aspect of the judgment is fine, but you want to see that correctiveness to the defect of the unconstitutional act. And the way that could have been corrected, the way that defect could have been cured, is the reinstatement of the Auditor General. And that would have sent a very strong message, a very strong language, a clear, decisive position of the law to the president. Because in this instance, the way I see it, the president has not lost, because he has in that office and in that position the man he wanted and handpicked for the job. Momodu Cisse, a man who loved his job, rejected a ministerial position for the very fact that he loved his job. He believed in the Gambia. He believed he was the custodian of accountability when it comes to government funds. Did not get his job back. Rather, he was rewarded to stay at home whilst his expertise and knowledge is not being brought, and the average Gambian is not feeling that. So to my little understanding, Momodu Cisse gained financially, he gained maybe reputationally, but in actual fact of doing what he loves, what brought us to this very position where he rejected a ministerial position, being confined and satisfied, being contented with the position he has and doing what he can, was not rewarded in that manner. Now, the taxpayers, the struggling taxpayers who are struggling with basic health amenities, basic social care amenities, are the ones who are now coughing the funds to pay not only the substantive constitutional holder of that position, which the court has declared to be Momodu Cisse rightfully, but now having a de facto kind of nicely worded gentleman as Auditor General, and also being paid the same benefits, the same dues, for occupying an unconstitutional position that does not exist in law.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, the judgment is brilliant, but what precedent is it setting? It is telling the president, perform an unconstitutional act, give it time and space. What will happen is the poor taxpayers will fund it, but your wish and your will be upheld. That is not what the Gambians want, and that was not what they wanted to see.
Mhm.
And that is the reason why there's so much debate on this judgment. Yes, it's discretionary to reinstate. However, I've had some legal scholars say that it was discretionary, that in other jurisdictions, reinstatement is not by force. However, it was the reasoning behind the non-reinstatement that I have a problem with. Because the reasoning is because there's a breakdown of relationship between the Auditor General and the President. Who said the Auditor General and the President should be best of friends? The guy is holding the President accountable. They're not friends. They're not buddies. They're not drinking mates. They're not supposed to coalesce together. In fact, factually, if there's disagreement, then the Gambians would be in a better position because he would hold the executive to account.
Yeah.
So it is an independent office. It is not an office that should have a brilliant and wonderful relationship. He's holding them to account. We're seeing forensic audits. We're seeing factual data filled with information sort of audits, holding the government to account. In fact, in his testimony before the court, he mentioned how the executive had tried, doing everything to influence his work, which he has rejected. Now, the other issue I have is, how did the Supreme Court factually arrive at the conclusion that he contributed to this by accepting that position? That it was not a fact that was established in that case, as far as I'm concerned. It was one person's word against another. And all indicators are, if you would look at it on the balance of probabilities, you would tend to believe Momodou Cisse, the Auditor General, that he did not accept by virtue of the fact that he refused to take up the position. So looking at it on the balance of probabilities, you would tend to lean more on his narration than that of the state, because the state was hell-bent on removing him. Therefore, that sort of narration to say that he accepted actually goes in their favor.
Yeah, I'll come back to you, Mal. Thank you so much for that.
But I'd like to hear the erudite barrister's position on my submission, because I disagreed with him. It was a brilliant case, but when he came out of the courtroom, he said that he agreed and was kind of supporting the position of the Supreme Court, that there was disagreement, the relationship is acrimonious, the relationship has broken down. But this judgment, it goes beyond lawyer Lamin Dabo. It goes beyond the Supreme Court justices. It goes beyond every Gambian. This judgment was a landmark judgment that sets the pace for respect of constitutional order. It is not what lawyers think about relationships between the state and an office. Those are administrative bureaucracy that has no business in a court of law. The court is there to interpret the Constitution and correct the defect of that unconstitutional act. So I'd like to hear his positioning on that.
All right. Dr. Mal, you are with us?
Yes, I am. I am with you. Is it me or Mal?
Yeah. Uncle Jedao, you can go, but I cannot hear Malmo. I don't know what's wrong with his voice. I cannot hear Dr. Malmo at all.
Yeah, he's not speaking, but you can go on.
Yeah, Jedao, you can go ahead.
My good friend put that very forcefully, and I agree. That was really my position is very clear on that. I believe reasonable people can disagree on that. I don't have, and I fully respect the position of those who said they were expecting nothing.
You got a breakdown on statement. You got a breakdown on that. Can you pick that again?
No. I said I wouldn't pick any hole with what Melvin said. Obviously, I agree that different people can have different perspectives on this. I didn't take any position as far as the reinstatement is concerned. If he was reinstated, obviously I'd be very pleased with that. My main concern was that we won the case and that he was going to be vindicated. But I fully agree with people who said that without the reinstatement, obviously, the Supreme Court failed fast of what it should have done. But if you look at the judgment, then you begin to understand what probably went on, in the conference between the justices of the Supreme Court. Like I said, I'm happy we won the case. And I also respect the position of those. And this is an overwhelming majority of people in the country, obviously, who said that they were disappointed by the Supreme Court in not reinstating him. So I'm not taking any issue with that. I'm not taking any issue with that. If you look at the position of Auditor General as an immature democracy, we are an immature democracy because otherwise, even at the workplace, even inside cabinet, there are disagreements between particular cabinet colleagues, not over this, but they do disagree over things. And so I understand that this shouldn't be an overriding situation, that the relationship is going to break down and all of that. Yeah, that shouldn't be overriding. So I respect the position of the overwhelming majority, who are of the view that the Auditor General should have been reinstated, that there was no issue with that. He should have been reinstated. But the overall tone of the judgment would tell you that, maybe things were going on behind the scenes that we were not privy to. But it was a compromise judgment. It was a compromise judgment. But our position was upheld, that he was unconstitutionally removed. Yeah. So, but of course, if there was no removal, then there was no vacancy. He should have gone back to his position. I agree with that as well. So I'm not going to make a big fuss out of that. I guess I was excited about the fact that, we won the case and the Supreme Court agreed with us. But they said this was discretionary. So people are going to disagree with that. And a lot of people disagreed with the refusal by the Supreme Court, which is stated very categorically, clearly, that they were not going to recommend his reinstatement. So, they were not going to order his reinstatement. And that was what happened.
Exactly.
But, yes, that was what happened. So, a lot of things happen in this case, which of course are quite disgraceful. But at the end of the day, even though the Auditor General was expecting to be
reinstated,
because yes, that was what he was expecting. He didn't say that very directly to me, but after the judgment, when we stepped out and spoke to the media, he did say he took the judgment in good faith. So that told me that really he was expecting to be reinstated and he was not.
Yeah.
So it's a reasonable position.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a reasonable position for people to come out and say, we were disappointed.
I will let Doctor to ask questions. I don't know whether we can still find a way to hear him. I don't know what's wrong with his phone. Doctor, can you unmute yourself? You're muted right now. Can you speak now? No, I can't hear you. Maybe you can use another.
He needs to go out and come back in.
Yes, come in. He said he did it multiple times, but he could not. It's not from our end too, and maybe you can use another device or your laptop. Yes, Mel, you have had Lamin's submission on top of your submission. He said he do agree with you at some degree, what you have said, but
well, he said he agreed at all degrees.
Exactly. So Mel, what does this mean for our judiciary? Do you really think, because many Gambians speak about the rule of law in the Gambia, but opinion differs on whether it is being upheld consistently. Like you just mentioned, Yakumba Jeda's case, it was other way around. This time around, we have it in this way around. So the question is the rule of law being applied equally to everybody or to everyone, regardless of the political office or influence?
Well, it depends. It depends on again, going back to this particular judgment, and in my opinion, I feel it depends on how the law, the applicability of the law. So for example, in the Yakumba Jaite case, Yakumba was reinstated, or it was declared that his position was never vacant anyway. So she just matched back onto her job as if she had never left. But you see what that did, that the precedent that created was that the unconstitutional order of things was corrected. That defect was corrected, and therefore you ascertain that there is not going to be a time in modern history where the president would appoint a National Assembly member and then rescind that decision. You get me? It is very clear what the repercussions would be. And this is my sort of argument, that the repercussion in the unconstitutional action of the president is not being felt by the president, but rather it is felt by the average struggling Gambians. And therefore, what is there to prevent or set as a barrier for the president not to perform an unconstitutional act yet again, knowing fully well that the extent of the repercussion would be a financial burden on the average Gambian? So that is my issue in this particular judgment. And like Lawyer Lamin J-Dabo just stated, it definitely, when you look at the judgment, you would know absolutely and squarely that it was a compromised judgment. Now, why was it a compromised judgment? That is something we need to look at. Because the unconstitutional act of the state was not compromised. That was blatantly clear and obvious to both lawyers and non-lawyers that something was wrong. That action was not right and therefore cannot be legal. So where did the compromise come from? The compromise came in saving the face of the president from a monumental embarrassment where his handpicked Auditor General would be asked to vacate that seat. That is where the compromise ensued. Yeah. So if you look at what has happened, the former Auditor General was handsomely rewarded financially to an extent that it would take a sort of different person, a different persona to sort of be upset about that judgment. He was absolutely handsomely rewarded beyond expectations. Maybe he would not have been there in that position until he retired. Who knows? But right now, there is nothing in that judgment that stops that Auditor General from having an international appointment abroad and still being handsomely rewarded and paid as if he's waking up every day in the morning and going to work, whilst the average Gambians would not benefit from his expertise.
Yeah, that's so touching. Uncle Lamin, now we will twist the conversation a bit to the ruling that was made day before yesterday with regards to the issues of Commission of Inquiry, that is Janet Commission. President Barrow trying to forgive or pardon an individual, or trying to go against some white paper. We have realized that you've contested that matter before the court, and then the ruling was done a couple of days ago. Walk us through what was the case itself, and why do you think it was necessary for you to challenge that decision to court?
Well, again, what we are dealing with is unlawful conduct by the executive arm of government, by the president in particular. Mm-hmm. What happened was there was a Commission of Inquiry Act, 1903. Mm-hmm. Now, that Commission of Inquiry Act was amended in 2023 so that the president could have his way in bringing back to the workplace people who were banned by former commissions, in particular the Janet Commission, because that was the most recent one. So that affected some individuals. Okay, so what did they do? They want to look at the possibility of bringing some of those people back into the public service. And so some of them were brought back into the public service. But they were not brought back under the Commission of Inquiry Amendment Act or the Commission of Inquiry Act 1902. Yes, they were, say for example, if somebody wants to challenge some of the people who were brought back into government as a result of that amendment, you will succeed. Because even though we dealt with the law in the sense that it conflicted with the Constitution, the Commission of Inquiry that we were dealing with has nothing to do with the Amendment Act. The Commission of Inquiry, they were prohibited or banned from serving in government from was the Janneh Commission. That Janneh Commission was not set up under the Commission of Inquiry Amendment Act 1903. It was set up under Section 200 of the Constitution. And 204 of that Constitution said that if you are adversely mentioned in a Commission of Inquiry, then you have an opportunity to apply for an amnesty. And if you apply for that amnesty and you are granted, then obviously you can be brought back into government. There is nobody today who is back in government as a result of that 1903 Commission of Inquiry Act. Nobody at all. Mm-hmm. All the commissions that were set up by President Jammeh and President Barrow, but more currently, President Barrow were set up under Section 200 of the Constitution. So, I mean, if you go after those particular individuals today, you can, the Supreme Court would definitely have to order that they be removed because there is no basis for their reinstatement. They cannot benefit from the Inquiry Act 1903. So you have two regimes here. You have the Amendment Act, which allows the president to do this. But the funny thing is, the president never set up a commission of inquiry under the 1903 Act. All the commissions set up by the president were set up by were set up under Section 200 of the Constitution. And in that case, if you are adversely mentioned, then obviously your only route to coming back to government is when the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court overturned the decision, the adverse mention of the Commission of Inquiry. And that did not happen. But nevertheless, it didn't prevent the president from bringing a lot of people back into government. Yeah.
So what was the Supreme Court ruling with regards to that issue? What was their stand at the end of the day?
Well, the Supreme Court was of the view that that Amendment Act did not violate the Constitution. But I believe that it violated the Constitution. Mm-hmm. It cannot exist at the same time as the Constitution. It cannot be. The controlling legal instrument of commissions of inquiry today is the Section 200 to 206 of the Constitution of the Republic. So certainly you cannot allow the president to sidestep that and bring people back into government without a legal basis. Without a legal basis, you cannot do it.
Yeah, you're deeply right. So before we end this conversation, I don't want to keep Lamin too long here on this program. Mel, we will twist the conversation a bit into politics. But before we get into politics, I just wanted to speak about Uncle Lamin J. Darboe, winning two most powerful or prominent cases in the Gambia. One about State versus Usainu Bojang, and of course, this time around is State versus Auditor General. What does this speak to his personality as a legal practitioner in the Gambia?
Wow, that's a tough one. So basically, I think lawyer Lamin J. Darboe is a lawyer of a different sort of caliber. So if you realize, I don't know if you've noticed that most of these cases that he has taken were done pro bono, meaning he was not paid a dime for it. Now, this is a gentleman who he knows I greatly and absolutely admire. A phenomenal, smart, intelligent, well-grounded lawyer. But that is not what makes the distinction. The distinction is his humanity, his humanness, his ability to go to transcend beyond the courtroom, beyond legality, beyond what's normal, beyond what is prescribed by law, to look into the humanness of things. We all know what would have happened to Usainu Bojan if he did not have a strong, solid legal voice to stand on or to lean on. We know what would have happened. It was a carefully, masterful, orchestrated act that nothing would have cleansed that gentleman from that allegation. Now, the question that everyone should ask is, what did it take for Olamin J. Dabo to identify with an Usainu Bojan? And that tells you the sort of person he is. So aside of the fact that he's a brilliant and phenomenal lawyer, we have so many brilliant lawyers all over the world. But what sets him apart is being able to identify with the masses who otherwise would not have been able to approach the halls of justice. Because to be honest, justice now is expensive. There are people behind bars not because they are guilty, but because they could not afford justice. And that is the sort of bridge that he has been able to bring in our jurisdiction. And that's what makes him different. That's what makes him stand apart. And if you realize, another thing I've noticed, because I lived in the Gambia as well, lawyers who take pro bono cases would dedicate less time on those cases and would actually delve more into the cases that they're being paid for. It's the same thing in England. A legal aid case would not be the same as when you pay a substantial amount for representation. It's different. And that is the same thing. But this gentleman would put his body, his mind, his soul into what he believes in. As long as he believes that this person is innocent, as long as he believes that this person is being taken advantage of, he would step in and he would do it with every fiber of his being. So that's what makes him different, and that's what sets him apart. Apart and aside of the fact that he's a phenomenal and brilliant lawyer of the tallest order. So that is who he is to me.
Thank you, Melvin, on that, for that wonderful word. Uncle Lamin, before we move into politics a bit, where are we gonna actually end this conversation with? What was your feeling after the ruling of Usainu Bojan and of course this other case which involved the state versus Auditor General? These are two high-profile cases in the Gambia in 2026. You asked your sergeant in jail, who is the most prominent lawyer in the Gambia. Your name pops up because you take the high-profile cases in the country. What does this mean to you as a legal practitioner?
Well, all praise to Allah. If our distinguished barrister here said, after what he said, I cannot add anything to that, obviously. That is the voice of the people. What he said has been echoed by a lot of other people. And I'm happy. I'm very pleased. But I believe that we cannot ask money for everything, because if we do that, then some people would really suffer. Yeah, some people would really suffer. Usainu would probably have broken down. But I do visit him at my every 3 days, sometimes every day when the case is at its peak, to tell him to be careful, to converse with him and all of that. But, at the end of the day, that is driven by the person that you are. I studied law in the United States and in the UK, and So there were people who were dedicated their time to colonial places. And yeah, I was very pleased with the work we put into staying with case, my team, and all of that. So, alhamdulillah. But, you know, we said it all, so I don't need to add anything to that. But I'm very, very pleased that both of them were vindicated. Yes.
Sure. So Mel, I wanted to ask you with regards to the issues of the proposed appointment of the new Chief Justice. A lot of people have different opinions with regards to his appointment, including Gambia Bar Association. I mean, what do you take from that bit controversy? I mean, that bit debate with regards to the appointment of Chief Justice. Who do you really think? What kind of individual do you really think should actually hold that institution, and what kind of reform do you really think need to be done as far as our judiciary is concerned?
So basically, it's a bit of a difficult one for me because he's someone I know, so I know he's a brilliant lawyer, well trained, considerable years of experience. However, my sort of, it's not an objection, but I would say my sort of concern is that to sit at the apex court in our jurisdiction without having a local sort of knowledge of our domestic law and pathway create some sort of, regardless of how smart, regardless of the experience, regardless of how brilliant you are, I think it just creates some sort of a disability when it comes to how justice would be administered and looked at. Because remember, the law has a perspective, it has a face to it. And in fact, that is how common law and its principles evolved. It was customs, practices that evolved over time. So I believe the law cannot be viewed theoretically. You have to have some sort. So you could have a very brilliant edifile, but I'm struggling to think how would you put a very, very phenomenal, brilliant edifile at par with just for example, a Justice Amina Saho. I'm just giving an example, who has gone through the ropes from a junior magistrate to principal magistrate to senior magistrate to high court judge, court of appeal judge. Just that example, having a feel of every fiber of our justice delivery system. And for me, that is my objection. Now, the constitutional bit is something I've not really looked at. I'm part of the I'm on the Bar Association page. Of course, the Bar Association has taken a robust positioning on this. But I have not looked at the law as per se. But for me, that was just my concern. That no matter how brilliant you are, no matter how wonderful you are, I mean, it's just like taking a lawyer in Gambia now and sending them to Pakistan and telling them to sit in the Supreme Court of Pakistan to interpret Pakistani laws. The laws are not in isolation. So that is my position. I don't know what the erudite lawyer would say.
Well, I don't want to drag you into this, but I mean, we have to walk us through about the kind of judicial system do you really foresee in the Gambia, and now that there's a controversy surrounding the issues of the appointment of the whatever who lives in the United States. You live here, U.S. laws and stuff like that. But the argument surrounding his matter has to do with his lack of spending more time in the Gambia judicial system. What do you really think need to be done with regards to the reforms that we needed in that system or institution?
Well, we need to look at the system very carefully because, to be honest, the Gambian judicial system is very, very similar to the American system. In fact, the U.S. system is also a combination of statute and common law. You know, fundamentally there is no difference. But there is a legal regime. There is a legal regime that says that you have to get your education and training and work experience from a common law country. And the US, even though it's a common law country, it's not listed as such by the Gambia, unfortunately. So if you look at it from that perspective, there is an issue there. There is an issue that is simply justice or not. But not in some of the narrow qualification. So qualification in science or science.
Can you pick that again? We are finding it difficult to hear you.
I said, in terms of academic qualifications of scholarship and work experience, obviously there is a lot of similarity. So you cannot say he's not qualified. But we have to deal with the common law bit, because the common law bit is also spelled out in the Constitution. You know, it's spelled out in the Constitution. If you go to section 139, you will find the qualifications there. And those qualifications are what have been debated today in relation to EDIFAL. So that is the situation. Yes.
Yeah, I think that was a great one. So, Okulami, just to push you further a bit on that matter, in an event that he was succeeded to be the Chief Justice of the Gambia, what do you really think with regards to the relationship between the Chief Justice and the Gambia Bar Association? Because as it stands, we have seen that Bar Association is not really happy or do not actually welcome the appointment of ED, given that we have two other lawyers in the judges in the Gambia, whom they believe that do understand Gambian judicial system more and better than that of the individual.
Their name wasn't different, not from my house, but yes, I believe there are several Gambians who can be with Chief Justices. Even today, there are some Gambians on the bench. So I guess at the end of the day, these things should have been done by consultation, and then you can see behind the scenes and you chart a way forward. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So I believe accurately will be as a result of the fact that the time is consulted. Maybe whatever issues that are there would be ironed out without using we have is full public debate about the matter. So that is something which, of course, is not very helpful. What I know as the family government is that it is unlikely to change its nomination. So how would it?
Yeah. So we are finding it difficult to hear Uncle
Yeah,
Lami.
I'm finding it difficult to hear him now.
Yeah. So Mel, what he was trying to say, it has to do with.
I had a bit about what he was saying, but at the end bit.
Yeah, maybe you are a bit far from the phone, Uncle Lamin. We didn't hear the last part of what you just said.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we are finding.
But if I hear him rightly, I think what he's trying to say is that he does not feel the president's nominee will change or the president's appointment will change. And if that is the case, what would the Bar Association do? If I'm right, I may be wrong, but
exactly.
You can ask him to clarify if that's what he was trying to say.
Did we get that? Yeah.
So the matter will end up in court because I've seen the draft process is not happening put together. Yeah. So one of the unless of course the bar scale down its position to be only Otherwise, it will end up in court.
Yeah. So Mel, you've heard that he said perhaps the matter will end up the court.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what's your
Yeah.
take on that, Mel? What's your take on his submission?
Well, I agree, but that is again, since we now have a precedence of compromise judgments, we might just have a compromise agreement on the appointment of the Chief Justice. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. So I mean, last question for each of you. The time did not really permit us to get into politics. I think we're gonna do this again next week or the other.
We need to have a special show where we
Exactly.
will delve into politics because you want to hear. You see, you're only referring to or talking about the lawyer Lamin J Dabo with his legal hat, but the
Exactly.
man now is a leading astute politician that you want to get him to wear that cap as well and get him and listen and hear him.
Next week Friday we will be back here. So viewers, if you are with us next week Friday, I will try to arrange with Mel. I will look into his schedules and then Lamin Jedabo and Dr. Malmo. Malmo have some difficulties with his phone. Maybe he ordered that phone from Food, and the food did not actually allow him to speak to us today. He tried a couple of times to join us, but he could not. Uncle Lamin Jedabo, like I said, we will come back here next week. We will talk about politics, law aside that day. There's a reason why we discuss more about these legal issues. These are some of the things that you are the center of. But you have taken these legal matters a couple of months ago, and here you are today with victory. The ruling was made, in your favor as well. So we deem it necessary to have a conversation around this. But politics will come in our next conversation. That is going to be the part two. I believe with the viewers cannot wait to see that happening every time soon. Mel, the last question of tonight today has to do with the issues of if you are to change or to reform one of the legal issues in that country, what are some of the things that you will change?
For me, it's the I think the justice delivery system, basically, I think it is so slow, the turnaround of cases. Land cases, you'll be in court 20 odd years. You have criminal matters where it will be in court another 4, 5, 6 years. You have people that are, in remand waiting for, their day in court for years. For me, that I think that a justice system that is so slow paced to an extent, the maximum justice what was it, something justice denied, okay,
Justice
my brain.
delayed. Justice delayed.
Justice delayed is justice denied. So basically, for me, that's my most, when it comes to Gambia, that is my greatest fear, because sometimes people don't even bother to go to court because of how slow paced it is. Before people can enjoy and have, and feel that justice has been meted out, it takes so long that it's almost as if that they have already been punished. You take, for example, Usainu Bojang, how many years he has been in, behind bars, only to be acquitted and discharged and to be found not guilty. But there are people that would serve even shorter sentences than Usainu Bojang spent in remand.
Sure.
There are some offenses where people would be sent to jail for shorter sentences. So a person who's not guilty to be behind bars for that long, that I don't think is justice. For me, that is my main thing. Something has to be done with the slow pace of justice delivery system in Gambia.
Uncle, with regards to you, if you could recommend one legal or governance reform that would have been the greatest long-term impact on the Gambia, what would that be?
Well, I believe our distinguished colleague here said it. Detailing justice delivery system. People shouldn't spend a lot of time in prison. Prison can work, because that then would amount to imprisonment itself. Say if you spend 10 years in prison and then acquitted and discharged, there's no mechanism. Unless, of course, you go after the state for compensation. But otherwise, there is no mechanism for you to be compensated. That is something you will look at very, very carefully.
Yeah. I think both of you share the same, vision with regards to what needs to be done, as far as our judicial system is concerned in the Gambia. Gentlemen, thank you both for sharing your perspective with us on this program. Like I said, we will definitely have you back here, Melvin and Dr. Lamin Davo. for us to have a conversation about the politics, the political atmosphere of the Gambia. Lamin's intention to run the Gambia in next elections. What are some of the things that he is putting forward to ensure that he found his way into Marina Parade, and then the level of his preparedness towards 2026 presidential election. This conversation matters because democracy is strengthened when ideas when ideas are debated respectfully and citizens are informed. So to everyone watching us or listening, thank you so much for joining us. We call this conversation the National Conversations. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, and continue to discuss in the comment section as well. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep the conversation going. Thank you so much, Melvin. Thank you, Dr. Lamin Mane, for joining me. It is an honor to have both of you here.
Dr. Lamin J. Dabo.
Exactly. So, yeah, your last word, Mel, before I leave you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having us. It's always, like I said, it's always a teachable and learning moment on your platform. And of course, it's great to share a platform with somebody as phenomenal as lawyer Lamin J. Dabo. I have learned a lot from him. I learn a lot from him. I follow him like a hawk. Every word he says, I digest. So it's such an honor and a privilege to be here. And we continue to do this. And of course, we hope that, the citizenry benefits.
Yeah.
Well,
Uncle Lamine.
I mean, I know the distinguished lawyer is just trying to be nice, but yes, I genuinely enjoy being on the same platform with him. He is truly an intellectual. Yes, people are lawyers, but then there are intellectuals as well. He's one of those who are both lawyers and an intellectual. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, viewers, thank you so much for being here with us. It has been a long day. It's a Friday. We intend to have this program 2 hours, but we do have some schedules to work around. And Dr. Lamin Dabo, we had him on phone for almost 2 hours. With Melvin as well, has been here with us since around 12 American time. I think that's going to be around 4 in Gambian time. And Dr. Umar Malmo could not really join us today. For what reason? Maybe he ordered that phone from Food. He does not order that phone from Amazon or Apple though. But we try to get him new phone, and so that he will be here with us in our subsequent programs. So we are planning to bring somebody tomorrow. Anyway, I will let you guys know on time, so that you can be here. We can have a conversation. I will also try to bring SFL this Sunday. I don't know where it's going to work out. And of course, we have so many guests along the pipeline. We would definitely love to bring a lot of Gambians to have a conversation with them, particularly about politics. We're in a political season. Even though today we did not talk much about politics, but it's more of law and governance. Like I said earlier, Lamin Jedabo is a very, very, very phenomenal individual. One can say, okay, perhaps he's not in a big political party, just like UDP or other political parties, but I believe his personality alone give a gist to the Gambian people, the kind of individual he is. He's somebody who is very phenomenal. Take a lot of cases, controversial cases. Usainu Bojan's case is one of those cases that were very, very difficult at the beginning. Some people have doubt with regards to Usainu's innocence, but Lamin fought tooth and nail to ensure that he give justice to that individual. And today, Usainu is a free man in the Gambia, working with his sister. Regardless of the state's mercenaries, the statement from the government spokesperson, the statement from the police deputy, inspector general of police, and all other government mercenaries to ensure that that individual stay incarceration, an innocent individual stay incarceration for something that he don't know anything about it. A poor guy, a poor fellow from Burfoot who know nothing about politics or about the issues of security was kept in incarceration for 2 years. When I thought about that, it is always difficult for me to understand what was really going in his head at that time. I always put myself in his position and I said, oh, if I am being alleged of this, something that I know, plain white, I know nothing about. But I was just become unfortunate, be on the other side of the aisle. And subsequently, I was subjected to those inhuman treatment in mile 2, the beating, the horrible condition that he was living in. So this is a country that belongs to all of us. Let us all try to fight to ensure that we have a very good system. not only the government, but of course in all facets, in all institutions. We should try our best to trust in our court system and ensure that we stand for the individual, especially those who do not actually have voice to speak up. There are a lot of things that are going on in the country right now. Until we come on your way, I am honored. I am deeply, deeply glad to have all of you here on my platform. It's an honor to to speak to you people. I know sometimes it takes time for us to come here and have a conversation. The last conversation I do have was Nyawo Koma and Yakuba Dabo of the Cameri Council, but we will try by all means to bring this conversation. And then for the first time, I'll be bringing live conversation with somebody with my guests in US here. I'll be traveling to one of the states, and then I will do live interview with one of the prominent Gambian, inshallah, very soon. You will see the flyer. Thank you so much for being here. We have a lot of viewers that are watching us on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. They have been sticking around. The numbers are always high. There is no deduction in those numbers that were with us from the beginning of the conversation to now. Thank you all for being here with me until we come on your way, hopefully tomorrow or Sunday. But we will keep you posted as we bring our guests on this platform. Thank you so much. Bye bye from my end.